All right, have and have not fans, you know the drill. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you don't miss out on any new content that I post on the channel. Now, first off, out of respect to everyone who, and trust me, there were a good portion of people that told me this, who were a bit disturbed by the graphic images in the last episode, I will not be showing pictures of Melissa's body or Erica's body in this video out of respect to those viewers of mine. I won't do it in either this video or the trailer breakdown for the black dress, but I will be doing Melissa and Erica videos separately, as well as another video about whether or not Tyler Perry has gotten too graphic with the show. So to make things simple, I made like a little collage with a few pictures from the episode. So this image is going to be what you're seeing the entire episode. So I mean, you can just listen to this video instead of having to you know, look at the screen the entire time, because out of respect to those fans who were creeped out, disturbed, and don't want to look at the images, don't worry, they're not in this video. So with that being said, I feel like this should be another reason to hit the subscribe button, because I like to cater to my fans. But overall, the road to hell, honestly, a pretty damn good episode. I just feel like the weaknesses of the episode came from the fact that I think this really would have benefited from a 90-minute episode. There were some scenes I felt should have been a bit longer, and other scenes that may have been or in need of a trim down. But I feel like overall, additional time would have definitely benefited this episode. So let's just start off. I honestly didn't even know what to score the episode. When I first saw it, I'm like, ooh, 10 out of 10. I was bouncing between an 8.5 and a 10 out of 10. But then after doing a few live streams, talking with other people, talking with my mom, I think I'm going to award this episode a solid 9. I don't think it's as rewatchable as Till Death Do Us Part. But at the same time, this episode, I did have a few nitpicks. Like, you know, did Hannah have keys in her hand when she went back in the house after the whole Melissa situation? Because remember, she said she didn't have a key. Melissa came and unlocked the door. Then she rushed to close the door, so I don't know if she locked it or not. But in any case, that was a little bit of a plot hole. Then the whole, and I'm not taking points off of this because I honestly don't give a damn that the car itself wasn't as blown apart as it should have been while Erica was burned to a crisp. I honestly don't care about that. I just feel like Tyler Perry was like, you know what, forget about how raggedy the car will look after an explosion. More people are going to be talking about Erica's body than anything else. Sadly, I think he's wrong, because I feel like there are more people talking about the condition of the car than Erica's body. So that was that. But yeah, overall, I feel like a solid 9 just because of the fact that the dialogue was great. I was laughing a lot. I love it when the characters ask questions or address certain things that us as a fan base have been saying all along, such as Benny calling out Candace on her bullshit for saying that the money's hers. And like, how in her twisted mind does she figure that the Criers owe her anything? Because it's gotten to the point where like Candace, Veronica, Jim, those are just a few characters or the main characters where they hear exactly what needs to be told to them. It's like they hear it, but they don't listen. It really kills me. It hurt me because when Benny's like, you know, I love you and everything, him and Hannah both on multiple occasions have told Candace to her face that despite everything, they love her. But you just look at how stone cold and how stone-faced that Candace is, because it's like she doesn't even care. She's more focused on the task at hand, which is getting a different money scheme or a con or blackmail going on. It's just ridiculous. So I did feel bad for Benny in that scene. And then we have, you know, I'm sorry bouncing around a bit, but you know, then we have Candace calling Gia to distract Benny. And it really gets me because I didn't really like the scene where he got off the elevator and Gia was overacting. But then when we got the calm, quiet scene of those two at the bar, I actually started to become attracted to Gia a little bit, because it's one of the few times where we just see her being calm, cool, and collected rather than over anxious, overacting, over dramatic, because we now know that she's literally like playing different roles. Like, you know, oh, I'm this wannabe escort slash prostitute who is unsure about my career choices, and is easily manipulated and bossed around. But on the flip side, I'm actually working with the feds to take down Candace Young. So in order to work my way up the ladder, I got to do what I got to do. Now we have her acting like, you know, what did she say? Like I'm a nurse or something like that. And she wants to move to Georgia. And to be honest, I wasn't mad at that. I do like the fact she was calm, cool, and collected. To me, it was a better Gia scene than when we found out who she really was, when she was talking to that guy in the hallway. Better than how she was acting like a victim with Jim Cryer, even though, you know, he took advantage of her multiple times, and then acting like a punk when it came to Candace. So this was probably one of my favorite Gia scenes, and I really liked it. And yeah, I will be doing a separate video about Benny and Gia, but at the same time, I really did like it because for once, she wasn't in a position where she was dealing with a Jim Cryer who wanted to physically abuse her. She wasn't dealing with a Candace Young who was, again, physically abusing her. Well, for Jim, it was sexually, but with Candace, you know, physically being slapped around and whatnot. But with Benny, it was kind of like, wow, I actually like this version of Gia, even though we know she's deceiving him. But, you know, distraction, what can you do? But even earlier with the Candace scene, when we have Malik, who is the quote-unquote hired muscle to convince Hannah to give Candace the money, several things. Number one, I feel like this dude, if he doesn't die, that is, will become another Warlock due to the fact that, just like with Warlock, Candace isn't saying how much money, but to be fair, she didn't tell him any specific amount, but she did lie to Warlock saying it was like, what, $200,000 or $400,000 when it was really $7.4 million? Yeah, so she literally told a $7 million lie. And then with Malik, it's like, oh, you ain't got to worry about that. Well, it's like, well, you know my going rate, right? Which is interesting because Candace, to my knowledge, aside from the money she's taken from those guys she robbed in her room, she's broke because all those millions of dollars are in the joint account right now. So on top of that, Malik is like, look, your mama is respected and loved in the hood. Look, it's going to come out and people will know I did it. It's like, don't worry about it. And the fact that even when you're hired, look, it was one thing when RK was questioning Candace, but when the thug you hired to do it is hesitating, you know you shouldn't do it. And she feeds him the same line that she gave Warlock when in his first ever scene, when she asked him to kidnap Jim Cryer. And it's like, what, you scared, War? And it's like, no, but this will definitely mess up my operation. So Candace, yeah, that was stupid. But later on in the episode, people have been like, you know, Candace was actually showing signs of hesitation and whatnot when she was on the phone with, you know, Gia and then Malik, because it was like she wasn't sure. But despite that, she's still going to go through with it, as we see in the next episode. So that's the Candace scene. But looking good in that pink dress, though, I will say that much. Then we get to the other scene. Let's see here. One scene I didn't really care for. My mom really didn't like it. Was Jeffrey and Justin. But like I said, oh, sorry, there's a gnat flying around. It's distracting. I actually liked the scene in the fact that it actually, once again, reiterated information the fans have been talking about, that Jeffrey does like the drama and everything. And to be honest, if he want, sorry, got the little thing flying around annoying. If he wanted to get out of this situation, he would, and I totally agree with that. But to be honest, I don't see any other way of Jeffrey to get out of this situation than to have Justin killed. The annoying part about that scene was Justin, oh, we're a couple now. And it's like, oh, my future mother-in-law is so crazy. Do you really believe Veronica will allow you to marry her son? That's all I got to say on that. I literally have nothing else to say on Justin and Jeffrey on this episode. Let's see here. I really did enjoy the actual dialogue between Uncle Vinny and Mitch. I'm glad Vinny's doing okay. And the fact that he really wants this taken care of personally, like he doesn't want the entire Malone family knowing that Wyatt Cryer was the one that did this. He wants Mitch to go down to the bar, get the computer information from the ATM to discover who this person is and tell him so he can handle it. But on the positive side of that, you know, he called up Benny, now knows Benny wasn't the one to do it. So hopefully those two are back on good terms. But I really am interested to see if Mitch is actually going to get the information and then give it to Uncle Benny, or get the information, look into it, find out why it's in jail, then relay that information to Vinny, and then the Malones will handle it. Because remember, the Malones own the police. So technically speaking, Vinny could really get this done quick, fast, and in a hurry, but we'll have to wait and see. The reason I'm excited about this is because if Mitch is the one pursuing Wyatt for Vinny, this could possibly mean that, you know, Benny and Wyatt will meet face to face for the first time, and I really want to see that happen. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But I wish Benny would have got up from that damn bar and went to see Mitch immediately instead of waiting, because we know that's what's going to happen in the next episode. Because if you remember correctly, he let sexual endeavors mess up his situation with the Malones before. Because remember, when he got to 45,000, Mitch is like, look, you can get the money back right now, but if you walk out of that door, that's it. So what, he got a phone call from Veronica, but to be fair, it was in regards to information about the Quincy Maxwell murder, so it was a quote-unquote emergency in his mind, so he rushed out of there without thinking. And this situation is like, look, Mitch wants to meet with me in order to help clear my name, so instead of sitting at a bar with this girl I just met, shouldn't I be more concerned about clearing my name with the mob? Yeah, get your ass up, Benny. But, you know, hey, dumbass Benny, dumbass Benny. Let's see here. Yeah, George is pretty much screwed, the DA, when he went to see Wyatt. Quick scene to talk about. Wyatt, if I'm not mistaken, pissed off on the fact that George can't get him out of jail because George is going to continue the immunity that Jennifer Stallison had with the Little Lizzie case, but this wouldn't be able to affect or help Wyatt in his current situation with attempted murder of slashing that guy's throat. So with that being said, Wyatt's like, you know what, screw you then, I'm not going to testify against my parents. And it's like, well, if you don't, then you're going to face charges for this and Little Lizzie. And that's when George is like, forget it, and he walks off. And now remember, Sarah gave Jim all the evidence and told him about Gia, so really George has no case or any means to get the criers, so he's pretty much screwed. This was one of the prime examples of a scene that needed to be done with more time. George and Wyatt should have had a conversation in the interrogation room. George, I feel if George really wanted to get the criers as much as Jennifer Stallison did, he would have found a way to get Wyatt out of jail. I do believe he would have if he really wanted it. I feel like there is a plot hole with this because doesn't Wyatt have the videotape, or did Jim take that? Because we saw Wyatt take it out of the camera and whatnot, but if he took the videotape, he should be able to have the video footage of the fact that it was self-defense. True, it was a drug deal gone wrong, but at the same time, Wyatt was initiating self-defense because Vinny was the one slapping him around, had the gun on him, so he did what he had to do to escape. I'm not sure that would clear his name, especially I doubt that would affect his relationship with the upcoming Malones, but at the same time, he can use that tape to clear his name somewhat in the fact that I slit this guy's throat, but at the same time, it had to be done in order to save my life. I don't know why that didn't come up whatsoever. Maybe when Jim goes to jail to see Wyatt next week, that will come up, but we'll just have to wait and see. But remember, there is the video footage of Jim and Wyatt coming out of the bar together, so we'll just have to wait and see. But this scene itself, that's why this episode, I mean, it's one of the reasons this episode isn't a 10 out of 10, because once again, I feel like this scene needed more time, and it also needed to be done in the interrogation room. That way they could freely talk instead of like in code, like how they were doing behind the bars. So that's just my opinion with that. Let's see here. Just a couple more scenes to talk about. The Catherine Hannah Jim scene, amazing. That was probably my favorite scene of the entire episode. Like when Catherine and Jim were going back and forth, your name hasn't been shit since you ran for governor. And then when Hannah shows up, oh, I finally got him to shut the hell up. I was done. I have nothing bad to say about that scene except for the fact that Hannah wouldn't accept Catherine calling Candace a whore. I understand you being a mother and stuff like that, defending your child, but Candace, $100,000 and the red sports car, $7.4 million, now almost $9 million. I feel like whore is an understatement. Whore is the least that Catherine should be able to call Candace. Not to mention you threw the fact that your drug addicted sons, but to be fair, he did hit her son. And then Jim literally said that he had no problem letting Benny take the fall. That was the only thing I didn't like about that when Hannah was defending Candace, because it's just like, just wait until you find out what she does to you later on, Hannah. Just wait. But in any case, I mean, will you be calling her something worse than a whore when you find out she was the one that sent that guy to attack you? We'll just have to wait and see. But overall, I'm not even going to go into that scene in this video because I will be doing a separate scene, because it looks like Jim is pushing Catherine further and further away, making it easier for Broderick to step in and do what he wants to do with Catherine to get her money. So this scene was wonderful. I love the banter. It was hilarious. I was laughing. The Jim, Catherine, Hannah scene was amazing, and really goes to show the son of a bitch that Jim is. He'll do whatever it takes to protect his son, but at the same time is protecting himself, his family, but it doesn't matter who gets thrown under the bus as a result. But overall, I just love that scene. Hilarious stuff. I just love the chemistry between these characters. And I think let me talk about the ending. We expected the ending to be at David's house, but the fact that they showed the body was the most shocking part. Literally, there's nothing else to say on that. The shock value, Erica's body, I got some videos coming up about that, but the ending was so shocking. That's why this episode was so close to a damn 10, because I did not expect us to see the body. One of the most talked about scenes of the episode. It was just something else. Now we're going, the reason I say the Erica and then the Melissa thing to the end is because a lot of people are talking about the paramedics, how the paramedics were ridiculous at the beginning, like just poking at Melissa's body, and then at the end of the episode just tossing David face first on the gurney. At first I was like, well damn, they ain't even going to turn the man over, to just plop them on the gurney. But then I'm like, oh, his back was pretty scarred up and banged up from the explosion, so I could see why they wouldn't put him back down on the gurney. But yeah, it did feel a bit awkward. It kind of did, but whatever. Now back to the beginning of the episode. I felt kind of weird, not just because of seeing Melissa's broken, bloody body. It just felt weird to me because the first 10 minutes of the episode, what we had Melissa on the sidewalk, then you had Hannah trying to call 911, her and Veronica going back and forth, the paramedic showing up, announcing Melissa's dead, Veronica not giving a damn and driving off. But before that, we have Hannah going back in the house because, you know, Veronica threatens her. Derek shows up. They go back and forth. Veronica exclaims that she'll get revenge on him for the other night. Then on top of that, Hannah comes back out of the house. Her and Derek have an exchange. He'll come back later tonight, but he has to fix some air conditioning units. And then he walks away. It just felt so weird because while all of this was happening, Melissa's dead body is on the sidewalk. It just felt weird. Once again, kind of like the Wyatt and George scene. I felt like maybe Derek and Hannah should have went inside of the house for a little bit, because it just felt so awkward to have a dead body on the sidewalk while all of that was going down. Not to mention, were there any people in the neighborhood who didn't stick their head out of the window? Because Melissa was yelling from the roof, and then Veronica and Hannah were yelling from the ground, not for her to jump. And it's amazing how we have a couple people walking by when Benny is getting arrested, but then we have no bystanders whatsoever when we have Melissa's broken body on the damn sidewalk. So it felt kind of weird. And I'll do a separate video on this, but it just feels weird for Veronica to blame Hannah for this situation. Actually, I think I already did a video on that, like how will Veronica react to Melissa's death or something like that, but it just felt weird to me. But with Derek coming back that night, excuse me, a lot of people are asking the question, will Derek be around when the intruder Malik comes into Hannah's house? We'll just have to wait and see. But as I said before, guys, the banter, like I remember tweeting this out. I can watch an entire episode of Veronica one-liners because they're funny as hell. It's like, I'm about 2 seconds off your ass. 1, 2, where you at, Miss Hannah? And it's like, pray for me, Miss Hannah, pray for me. So it was hilarious. But overall, guys, I think it was a pretty solid episode. 9 out of 10. I feel like that's a pretty good score. It had its good points. There were some scenes, like I said before, I really think this episode would have benefited from being 90 minutes long instead of the 40, well, technically 70 minutes long, because if you subtract 20 minutes of commercials, yeah, because what, it's an hour long, but it's actually 40 minutes. So if it's 90 minutes long, it's actually 70 minutes. I think more time would have benefited the episode, in my opinion. So let me know what your thoughts were on The Road to Hell. Check out my trailer breakdown for The Black Dress next week. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you all later.